The function of a performing philosopher is not to try to sell you on any brand name of philosophy. I have no dogma. I have no favorite cause here. I have one cause, and that's the goal of a performing philosopher, is to encourage you and inspire you and empower you, to the extent I can, to think for yourself and question authority.
Family, the only people I got love for, but half my fam seeing trouble from the drug war. Pain, that's what the drug's for. Hood politic and president is what I run for. Cold roads, ice picks at the front door. You think you run these streets, brother?
Good. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Yo, what's good?
How's
it going?
Good.
Episode number 2.
I don't know who we think we are, but we're pulling it off. What's up? So we got Benny here. What's
That's
up, Benny?
right.
Say what's good.
What's good?
We got Jesse.
Hey guys.
What's good, Jesse?
Yay. And I'm Eric. And we have Najah Abdus-Salaam.
Hi.
Hey, how's it
So,
going? Welcome to the podcast.
Najah has saved my ass for the past like 8 months, honestly. I come in, you all know how crazy the fuck I am. So I come in with some sort of, I'm depressed as fuck, or I'm manic as fuck. I'm just tripping out. And she'll come in there and she's like, just lay down, take your gauges out, give me your phone, get off your phone. I'm like pulling needles out, so I'm on my phone. And she pokes me and I pass out and fall asleep. Or it's not even a full sleep. It's like some weird in-between state. And then I wake up and I'm all better. So I wanted to get her here so she can talk about what she's been doing and tell us about herself so we can get to know her. I think she's real special.
Oh, that's really sweet, Eric. Thanks for the plug.
There you go.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey with you so far.
It has been.
Yeah. I guess about me, I'm an acupuncturist. Been one since 2013 here in San Diego. And not a lot of people know, but to become an acupuncturist, it's a long haul. It's not something that it's like, a 10-month program. It's like 4.5 years of like grueling, like running marathons, like memory marathons, one after the next. And then you finally come out and then you have triathlon for the memory, which is your board exams. Yeah. And then you finally become an acupuncturist. So it's been a long haul, and I'm really grateful for the experience.
Dope. So with all the like practitioners I surround myself with, typically there's something for all of us that puts us in this position to go down that journey. So I know a little bit how you grew up and where you're from, but if you want to tell people, I know you're from Philly.
Oh, I'm from Jersey.
Oh, Jersey. My bad. Same.
Yeah, cool. Yay, there's 2 of us here.
So you're from Jersey, and what along that lines of growing up in Jersey, how did you end up as an acupuncturist? What's that story?
Oh, man. So I guess it's been a work in progress for a long time. I've always loved helping people and stuff, but I kind of went a different route. I was in New York and tried high fashion modeling, which pretty much meant I was a bartender. And in that process, I wound up meeting a bunch of really cool people in New York, and I was thinking about going to school, like a different school for massage therapy, because I wanted to massage babies. Was my first initial thought, was like their bodies are growing and changing, and I want to be able to kind of help them along that process. And so I kept on asking around, and everyone would say that you should go to Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. This was in New York, and I was like 20. And so I wound up going there for an open house. So I went there just to check out for the massage program, and they were really sweet and welcoming. And then they gave me this little card, and they're like, here's a free acupuncture treatment. And they said, you can call and make an appointment whenever you want. So I did within like a week or 2. And I just went in for acupuncture, but I had no idea what I was doing. I knew nothing of acupuncture. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew a little bit about massage, and that I wanted to help people. And then I go in for my first treatment, and I didn't realize that you had to have a chief complaint. Like, you have to go there and say, oh, I have this wrong with me. And at the time, I mean, I'm 20, so I don't have no idea about my body, like what's wrong. Like, I just I'm fine. I got what. So she starts asking me all these questions, and then she starts asking me about my menstrual cycle and all those details. And then she's like, oh, it sounds like, we need to regulate that. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And so she stuck the first needle in. She put them on like the tops of my hands, tops of my feet, and a couple other places. And the first needle went in, and I was like, holy shoot. Can I say?
Oh,
I say
fucking God.
holy
You can
shit.
totally
Holy shit. This is crazy. What is that feeling? What is that sensation in my body? I've never felt anything like that before. And she put in the next needle, like, pew, and I was like, oh, and I'm laying there, and she just, every needle I'm feeling so strongly. And I'm very curious by nature. So it's just piqued my interest. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to leave the room and let you relax. And I'm like, okay. Can I play with the needles when you're gone? Who says that, right? Like most people would just like lay there.
I would probably say that.
Would you? Oh, good. I'm in good company then.
Like, how far can I push it in until it
Yes.
starts hurting or something? Like,
I was playing with every needle I could get my hands on in that first treatment, and I was like literally like jolting myself on the table, like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And then went home after that treatment, and that was like that night was like the best and deepest sleep I had ever had in my life. And I woke up the next morning like feeling totally brand new. And that one treatment regulated my menstrual cycle for like 8 months. And then, but like that next morning was when I knew that there was something to this medicine, but I couldn't really study it at the time because I was crazy. And I knew when I started to sign up for the school at the time, like, it's a life changer. You go into something like acupuncture, you're committing your life to helping people and doing what you can and studying this medicine. And it's very, very, very detailed medicine. And I knew at the ripe old age of 20, I was not ready. I was kind of like, wild, doing modeling and, bartending. I was in a different world. And I knew that if, I was going to go into that world, I wanted to go into it correctly. So I decided to not go to school for acupuncture, like pretty much I was almost signed up, and then I had this like epiphany that I wasn't quite ready. And then I moved back to New Jersey, and I finished my undergrad in marketing and advertising, and then worked in New York City for like 3 years doing marketing coordinator for like big ad agencies and stuff like that. And then eventually totally was just like turned off by that world. And then, that's what kind of led me to I was like visiting San Diego at the time and wanting to come here. Like I wanted to live here, but I knew that I didn't want to do the work that I was doing back in New York. And I had gotten so far, because it was like 10 years had gone by, and I had gotten so far away from acupuncture that I literally forgot about it. And then one day when I was like, I knew I was moving here, and I was on the computer, and I'm like, duh, I should go back to school for acupuncture. And I looked it up online, and the first school that came up was Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. So for me, it was almost like divinity. Yeah. I didn't look at any other schools. It was like, that's where I was going to go before. Okay, well then that's where I'm going to go here. This is meant to be. And then I moved here in March, and I went to their open house in July, I think, the end of July, and I was enrolled in September.
Dope.
Yeah.
So did you go right into your own business, or did you practice at other places? You don't have to say where those places were.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like you don't really know what you're doing when you come out of school. Yeah. You just get thrown into the world, and you have some classmates that are like, they had this idea of like their clinic already brewing in their heads and what they wanted to do. But for me, it wasn't really like that. I had like ideas on what I wanted to do, and I knew that like how to go about it. So I decided to just do it on my own, like piece it together. So I was working out of a bunch of different clinics. I started at a bunch of different places around San Diego, and it's the healing industry here is like really fickle when it comes to places. So like when you're first out of school, you'll go through like, 2, 3, 4, 5 different spots until you find one that either like really feels like home for you, or you just create your own home.
For sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. So that leads into the question, like what you're working on now. So you've been a practitioner for some years now, and you've had a recent experience. Me and you talked about it a little bit before. You had a recent experience, and I've worked in treatment in some form of service to people who are either unhealthy physically or in addiction. I've worked in treatment as well, and practitioner burnout or healer burnout, whatever you want to call it, is a real thing. And my experience working in treatment, they tell you you're doing the work that you're doing to help people. That's not gonna fill your cup. You're pouring into other people's cup, and you're not refilling yours. So me and you talked a little bit about that, and I want Benny to know, I want Jesse to know like what you're passionate about right now.
All right, so this all kind of came about as being an acupuncturist. I don't necessarily feel as though I have reached the point where I've like I'm burnt out. But what I've seen in treating, because I work a lot with the elderly and terminally ill patients, so I'm working a lot with caregivers like that have like week-long shifts, or they have 36-hour shifts constant, and they are they're just giving, and they're doing really important work. They're really helping to ease the suffering of the elderly and the really sick. So they are constantly in a state of giving. And I lost a friend recently that died of cancer, but it was during his transition, his last few days of passing, where the hospice nurse that was there to really ease his suffering, she was like I guess you could say she was tired in some ways, because a friend of ours who was helping manage his care had asked that nurse for a suction unit in order to help clear his airways, my friend's airways. And then the hospice nurse just, she said, well, he's probably going to be gone by the time we get the suction unit there, so what's the point? And he stayed alive that night, the next day, into that night, and she was already like resigned to the fact that he was going, so why even put in the effort? And I've heard this before, and this is a running theme that you hear working in hospice and working with the elderly, and it hurt me, because this friend was like, he was a big reason why I made it through acupuncture school. Like, a lot of people, when they decide to go to school to become an acupuncturist and they see all the work's entailed, they're like, oh fuck no, I'm out. Seriously, they're like, I can't do this. This is too much. A lot of people bail, right? And so the ones that make it, even those acupuncturists, a lot of them, they only practice for like a year or two, and they're like, F this is terrible, because you're up against a lot. But the reason why I think that I've been able to like hold on to everything that I've known and learned was from my friend John, the one that passed away. He was my first teacher. He was my first spirit teacher, I would say. He taught me the importance of compassion and kindness and boundaries and making sure that you are taking care of yourself. We would go through he had this beautiful pie that he would have you look at, and he's like, okay, you have to make sure you have all of these, discipline, your structure, your boundaries, and your spiritual space are all taken care of, So he was the one that like really instilled that in me, and I think that's why I was able to go and want to help a population that really needed that type of support. And I knew the importance of renewing my cup. So I, through acupuncture school, doing yoga, was a part of my regular schedule, and making sure that I was eating well and making sure that I was expressing myself through art. Like, I had all of these things around me, and that's how I was able to come out of that school like alive and well and ready to serve, So when he transitioned in that way, even in his death, he was teaching. He was teaching us about the importance of, even in my suffering, I'm showing you through my suffering, like, how to have compassion for this person. Because I was angry. You talk about anger. I was pissed. I was like, I can't believe this freaking lady, But then I had to reel it back, and I had to think, like, why she even would say something like that. I started going backwards and backwards and backwards, and I'm like, okay, so clearly she's not happy. She's not feeling fulfilled. And then I kept, then I started researching like burnout online, and then it was like compassion fatigue was the thing that kept on coming up. And then there was all these studies on the PubMed, the National Health Institute websites, and they're all talking about the same thing, saying that like compassion fatigue affects this population, but yet nothing is being done about it. And that was always a second line, it was like, this is compassion fatigue affects this population. Second line, nothing is being done about it, or there's few systems that are in place that are being done about it. So then that got me thinking more and more about like, why the hell isn't there anything for the people that are doing the care? Because you can't continue to give that on that level without it depleting you. Like, just thinking like, in terms of like just basic energy, that's what kind of where my mind goes, is like, okay, so if you keep on giving, then your cup is like, what the heck? There's nothing in it. Yeah. So how are you going to be put in a place to help and to heal, yet you're on the bottom here, So then I started thinking about developing a compassion renewal system, a way to prevent and to recognize compassion fatigue before it sets in. And in that case, being able to just create a system that's like already in place, that doesn't have to be this extra thing that these caregivers and nurses that they have to do, but that it just rolls seamlessly into their lives, so that it starts to change the habits of how they start to become apathetic. Because it's compassion fatigue shows up as like apathy. You lose your purpose, the sense of why you're doing the work that you do. Your work doesn't matter. You feel overworked. You're tired. You're not sleeping. You're spending money. Like, there's a huge list of all of like the symptoms of it. So it's like by using a systematic program that's developed over like an 8-week period allows the body to change those habits. So that's ultimately what I'm working on, is creating a system to change the habits that have formulated through compassion fatigue. So like we start at one level and then you keep working your way deeper to the point where the compassion renewal becomes a part of your life. It's not this extra system. It's not this extra thing that people have to do, because a lot of the caregivers and the nurses that I've come in contact with, they are taking care of their families. They are taking care of this person, or maybe sometimes more than one person, maybe 2 or 3 people. They are totally responsible for their care day in and day out, on top of their family, on top of their own lives. So there isn't like this there's not this big window of time for them to step outside and to go and take care of themselves. So the idea is to bring it to them, because if you look online, compassion fatigue, it's like compassion fatigue is this, and here is what you can do. You can go for a walk, you can ride a bike, you can go hug a tree. Like, they're telling you these things that you can do that are like extra things for you to have to do. And then that's the problem, because in our society we don't really have time is a luxury for a lot of people. So that's why I've been working on this as a way to like seamlessly put it into the system, like an already existing system, to make it a part of their day to day, so we can change this.
That's
I have
really
a
cool.
question.
Yeah.
So is there a place in acupuncture in this compassion renewal thing?
Yes. Yeah, because a big part of even like observing, like when you're starting to become burnt out, is that you need to have self-awareness. And so without self-awareness, you will just continue in this like downward spiral, because you're not paying attention. You don't have that way to look inside yourself. So acupuncture is a big tool, because you feel so much inside the body when it's happening. And even if you don't feel anything with the acupuncture, but then you pass out and you go to that sweet spot like you go to, Eric, you go to that place, that's also a part of it, right? Because you're getting you're turning off your brain, and you're letting your theta waves kick in. You're letting your parasympathetic system turn on, and then that's when the healing takes place. So usually when you can create that type of a system for a person repeatedly, they start to learn that, oh, this is healthy. So by doing so, some of the therapies are, of course, massage, acupuncture, group talk therapy, sound therapy, float tanks, which are amazing.
Eric likes float.
And then expressive arts therapy is just another way to kind of express, your like deeper emotions through some sort of medium, some artistic medium. And I think that's, maybe there's like 1 or 2 more that I'm forgetting.
So let's say you have that hospice nurse who comes to you. Are those the things that you're going to take that nurse through, or are there other things besides that like, let's say she hears about it, how do you walk her through, like what do you, like, she comes to you and she has some sort of epiphany, like, I can't treat people like shit, regardless if they're dying or not. So what are you going to walk her through? What do you have to offer her? What is she looking forward to starting this program?
So it's set up to be, I think I was saying before, it's 8 weeks, right? So then in each week there's a theme, and that's all the first week is reconnecting you with your purpose, right? And then so with that theme, there's a workbook. There's a couple pages in the workbook that are walking you through what you are experiencing right now, questions for you to think of that are, it's really simple, right? It's just kind of like things to get your mind thinking about, oh yeah, how am I not connected with my purpose? What were the things that I used to love to do that I'm not doing right now? Just a simple question. So each week has a theme, and then with that theme, there are 2 therapies that go with it that are paired specifically for that. So the first week is a like a therapy session, talk therapy, just to get out like verbally like what you're experiencing, which is a huge part of healing. And then at the end of that week is a massage, just to get you like just to have touch and be touched, and to have that, to bring that level of like groundedness back to yourself. And then each week kind of builds on the week before. So there's a workbook that accompanies you with this. And then with that, there's also, it's about 2 months. And then after that 2 months, there's like supplemental work that you do within the 4 months off. And then there's a second round.
Nice.
So the second round goes a little bit deeper, and it's 2 months with a little bit workbooks in between. And then again, and then for each week, there's like guided meditations, there's mantras, there's simple exercises and meditations and grounding exercises, just to start to incorporate into your daily life, to help to break the pattern of compassion fatigue.
Cool.
It's dope. It's you're gonna deal with a certain population directly, but our culture perpetuates work your ass off.
Yeah.
Work 90 hours a week and go. So you're it seems like you're targeting like the people who are deeply emotionally healing, but I got, my parents need this shit, like
Yeah.
I know my brother's a lawyer, he needs it,
Yeah.
and I really believe what I love about working with you is that it actually gets me. I've actually felt genuine compassion. I felt like when you've poked me and I've been like, okay, this is tangibly what compassion feels like. And I feel like that affected the way I approached all of my situations in life. And it's cool to go directly to the healer, but this is how I see such a bigger thing. Like,
Yeah, because it's more than just working with hospice nurses and caregivers, because it affects anyone that helps anyone else. And it doesn't even have to be another human. Animals. I mean, people that see the suffering of animals on a daily basis, they're affected by compassion fatigue too. Like hospice workers are one thing, but like social workers, teachers, anyone, like firefighters, like anyone that works with people can benefit from this.
So how would you explain to somebody like what grounding means? Because it may be a foreign term to somebody, and it may be just a term that you hear thrown around so much, like grounding, like
and mindfulness.
And mindfulness, like all the shit that you're gonna like, all the new age shit that like, seems to get thrown around a lot, right? Like to some of us, like we know what that means because of the sort of the things we practice, like what we do, outside of our jobs and our lives and connecting with people. But somebody who's listening to this, who's just kind of starting to like, what is this all about? How would you explain what would grounding be, or some those practices? Because I know how important that is about how to be grounded, present in the moment. But like how would you, I guess, like explain that to somebody? So something that's like really understandable. Like,
okay, so I don't remember exactly what I wrote in the program, but it goes something like this. So first you have to be able to recognize like what not being grounded feels like, and it's usually like you're really heady, you're all up in your head, your thoughts are racing, maybe you might have some like butterflies in your chest, or you might feel like maybe anxiety or something, or like you can't get in a full breath of air. Like these are all signs that you're physiologically that you are not grounded, right? So once you understand like how that energy can rise up a little bit, then the idea is to bring that energy down, right? In Chinese medicine, it's like a continuum, right? Yin goes into yang, yang goes into yin, it's like this circle, and they all interplay with each other. So like yang is like the fire. It's like what keeps us alive. It's our chi. It's why how we're having this conversation. That's what's keeping us, going right now. But what's keeping us like seated in the seats besides gravity, right, is like that liquid heavy part of ourselves. So they have to be interplaying with each other. So then taking that outside of the body, you want to have that same feeling out in nature, right? So you're thinking, okay, like up, like this is all like the sky, the blue sky, the birds, the sun, this is yang. All yang energy. The ground below you, that's your yin, right? So that's where you want to ground yourself. That's where you want to put your feet on the ground and the grass, on the dirt and the sand, concrete, or by a tree, the roots of a tree, even though that could be sometimes a little bit too activating. But like the ocean, those are all grounding elements that are in nature. So the same grounding elements that are in nature in Chinese medicine, they're also within you too, right? So it's like you getting back in touch with the natural cycles, the natural rhythms of our planet, and bringing that back into harmony with yourself. So being grounded means physically going outside and putting your feet onto the earth. No socks, just your feet, and staying there for about 5 minutes. That's like that's an easy one, Then if you really want to get jazzed, go and lay down on the ground. Yeah.
So what you're
Love
kind of
that.
saying is like anything that really takes you out of that airy space in your head, something that takes you out of that frustration or anxiety or anything, and just keeps you still and present in the moment that you're essentially just existing in.
Yes, and you can utilize the earth for that.
Yeah.
That's the most important part, is making sure that you are coming in contact with the ground.
Yeah.
Literally, the gravitational pull will actually pull and cycle through your energy for you. So it's really important.
We're so separated from that in a
So
city.
separated from it.
I lived on a farm for a while, and I'm from New York City, but I lived in 3 hours on this farm, and it was a whole different environment and feeling that I had living in that body. It was like, okay, I'm picking berries off this tree right now, and I'm walking barefoot. I'm wearing overalls, dude. I'm touching this horse, and it's a whole different experience. And when you, even in San Diego, we have nature and shit, but we're concrete. It's a superficial world we're living in, and I don't think humans were intended to be living in that, right? It's only recent.
What adds so much to that is that, like, dude, what tripped me out lately, after the new update on the iPhones, it has a screen time thing, so you can go in your settings and look at how much time you spent on your on like social media. Yeah, if you don't know that, dude, I know. And so that's the reaction I had. I was like, oh fuck. It's like all your deepest, dirtiest secrets like about to come out the closet, right? So I like. But we spend so much time in this like virtual reality world that like we work on cultivating these like avatars that we have portraying our lives and stuff, that we don't have that opportunity to take out and go outside. Like I fish. You guys know that. Eric and Jesse knows that. You don't. But like I'm an avid fisherman. I'm on sport boats like every weekend that I can. If I don't fish in like 3 weeks, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm legitimate, like I'm going crazy. My anxiety's going up. My depression kind of starts to creep in and everything. And so that's like my way of grounding. But it's interesting to me that we don't have like a culture of wanting to get away from that. Like we're so sucked into this. But
that's that perpetual work life. It's the
and
we have
that
this
as
city
well,
so we could have productivity and people can be making money and buying shit, and we're so far removed from just the nature, and it's super contemporary. It's only been like 150 years of that. So it's like a weird experiment that's happening. Like what the fuck will people do with no nature around them, except when you have to like consciously think to go to nature. I went through a depression last year, and finally I was like, I sit in my house, do this, I'm fucking miserable. I'm just gonna go to the beach and read. And I did that every day for like 2 weeks, and I was like, oh fuck, I feel better. Like that's all I had to do was leave my house, and get somewhere where I was outside of myself, and that's a spiritual experience in itself. Just to see like, oh shit, I am tiny out here. I don't. My bullshit is so tiny. I'm over here stressing, and this fucking big ass ocean right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how do you?
I think it's really important to emphasize the connecting with the earth with grounding. I have an engineer brain, right? And when I hear grounding, besides the spiritual aspect of it, I'm also thinking about electricity. And why it's so important to be grounded is there's so much extra energy, right? And if you're thinking about it from an electrical perspective, like if you don't ground the building, like you touch any metal in that building, you're gonna get shocked. There's just extra energy present. And when you ground it, the earth basically takes the extra energy. And like to think about like grounding ourselves, it's like we have all this extra energy in our head, and we're all this fear and all this like craziness going on. And once we get connected to that earth, once we get reconnected to nature, that's when we feel at peace. Yeah. So it's interesting to see like how that works.
I love that analogy, dude.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's this book you should read. It's a book on acupuncture, believe it or not, but it's called The Spark in the Machine, by his name's Daniel Cohn, and the whole book is about how what runs through us is electricity, we just call it chi. And he explains it. He shows you the pathways and how it developed embryologically, and he goes through it all. And it's really cool because he talks about us being electric. We're electric beings, and so therefore it just goes to show like the importance of grounding that we need, because without that we're.
Yeah, I know. I get there quick.
Yeah.
So how would you like now? You mentioned mindfulness and for all this stuff. So how would you explain mindfulness as well? I love asking these questions to people because I love hearing their definitions and how
Even
they explain
deeper,
that stuff.
Meditation and mindfulness. You hear meditation and mindfulness interchanged. What do you? Some may not be your expertise, but do you have an opinion on the difference between the two?
No, I think one is a tool towards the other. I think, you use meditation to become more mindful, but meditation doesn't mean sitting in a chair, chanting Om and, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that. A meditation could be anything. It could be you walking, but if you're using walking as a meditation, the whole thing is that you're walking, watching one foot go in front of the other, in front of the other, in front of the other. That's your meditation that makes you more mindful.
Got you.
That's pretty much how I would describe it. It's like you use your meditation as a tool to become more mindful. And being more mindful is just, being in that present moment, not thinking about anything in the future, not thinking about anything in the past, but just being here, right here at this moment in time, which we need practice with because we're so used to looking at our phones and our schedules and our this and our that. What are we doing this weekend? What about last week? Oh, that was so fun last weekend. We go back and forth in time, but we have a hard time just being. So like mindful practices like cooking dinner or washing the dishes and feeling the soap. Like you put the soap on the sponge and you squeeze the sponge. You're like, oh, wow, that's so soapy. And then you turn on the water and you wash the dish and you're like, whoa, it's so slippery. And then, that is a mindful practice. If you are there in that moment, being present.
Yeah. For me, this is a meathead shit, so I'm going to go there. But I have a hard time meditation unless I'm floating, which is lit as fuck. But for me, so in my training, for years, it was like I'm lifting to get bigger or I'm lifting to get stronger. And that selfishness in training, that only worked for a certain period of time. And then I took this long break and I started working out again when I kind of met you and I was struggling. So I was like, I'm going to work out for endorphins. No other reason, not to look any different. So what I ended up doing was I'm like, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm not counting reps, not counting sets. If it feels good and there's a certain connection with my body I was like, oh, fuck, this feels good, dude. And I took the pressure out of it. I took the pressure out of like, this is not to be swole. And like, that's feeding that superficial part of myself. This is just me paying attention, honoring my body. You know what I mean? That's more so with my own business. That's what I'm trying to teach now. Like, not come in here and just take care of your body. It's changed the whole way I train.
And that you have taken something that was like an exercise and you've made it into a meditative practice by doing that.
For sure.
It's all about bringing awareness and paying attention.
Yeah. So what time we got, dude? That flowed.
We got a bunch of time.
We got time? Cool.
I have something to say.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm fucking
You're
nervous.
in it. You're
what
present.
You're present.
It's
I don't know. Just relax if we're here.
I wanted to touch on mindfulness for a sec. Because we're all talking about being present and stuff, and you're talking about being connected with your body, right? And I think that's something that I've been working on recently is reconnecting with my body. Because for the longest time, since I could remember, I've only lived in my head, and mindfulness to me looks like being fully connected to my body, what's going on around me, and through that I've been able to really learn what it is to be present, but when we forget the body aspect of being humans.
For sure.
Because we're always like here and we're always like on our phone, and it's like, dude, I have a body.
Yeah.
I need to take care of this thing, I mean? I need to be connected to this thing, like what's it telling me? Not just like, oh, I have an ache, like whatever, dude.
Yeah.
But like really like paying attention. I think that's where your practice comes in, is like figuring out what's going on internally and like how to bring those things out, how to properly deal with those issues.
Yeah. It was interesting. Like in my research, there was this quote that just a fact that I came up with from Mother Teresa. So, she was, such a compassionate human being, and she had nurses working with her all the time. And every 4 to 5 years, it was mandatory for the nurses to take a year off. Mandatory. She said, you need to go take care of yourself, and you come back renewed, ready to work again. You know, we don't have that ability in our culture. So that's why I developed this as a way to like streamline and get it, like make it a part of your day, as opposed to, you know, because unfortunately a lot of us can't take off a year.
Yeah. For me as a sober dude, and you guys don't have to say anything about that, but I don't have the luxury of not taking care of myself. I just don't have that. So that's even why I started my own business. That's why I've spent so much time working with you and other people, because I do it out of necessity. It's like if I don't do those things, I get burnt out. So with what the projects I'm working on now, and this is what you're working on, is how do we encourage that to everybody? Because we all deserve healing. You know, it doesn't matter what you're doing. But how do we bring awareness to that for everyone? Because people, you know, in the health and wellness field, we're looked at as extremists or hippies or like a weird thing. Nah, dude, we just eat healthy. We exercise. We're doing what humans do. You know, it's the culture is so shifted to like, you're weird if you take care of your body, or like it's just I want that culture to be the norm, as opposed to like, this is a specialty that we're doing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you think that comes from? Where do you, because if you think about it, we have like fast food, Western medicine.
I mean,
Big part.
It is a big
There's
part.
pills for everything. There's
That's
pills for
true.
everything.
Because like if you think about it, it's only like the recent, I don't know, 50 years.
Yeah, it's
If
super.
that, right?
It's super recent. It's super like even with nutrition science and exercise physiology, we're still learning things. Chinese medicine's tried and true for a long ass time, but Western medicine is such a it's allegedly it's not even it's actually we're finding it's not even a quick fix, but it's that pill nature. We've been trying to figure out, Western medicine is trying to figure out how to solve a problem with one pill, as opposed to, hey, you have high blood pressure, go for a walk, dude. Walk every day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I need to take statins now for my high cholesterol, my high blood pressure, as opposed to moving. But that's productivity. We need to pop a pill in you, and you need to get back to work. Because it's an industrial nation. We need to patch you up and get you back to work as fast as possible. I'm not that smart, but that's what my mind. That's where my mind goes.
And that's where like we need to get back to understanding like where like these integrative therapies fit in that model, because ultimately you need to be taking care of yourself if you are going to be out working all the time, taking care of your family, taking care of for anyone. So the importance of that self-care, we need to really get back to that, you know, because for some reason it's like, oh, you know, the doctors know best. The doctors know best. But, you know, we give our power to them, as opposed to being like, no, I have control. This is my vehicle. I know what it needs. Let me figure out how I can get these things, like to do these things that my body needs, you know, as opposed to being like, oh, where's that pill?
Yeah.
So how would you kind of give somebody back that power? Because like even to me, I'm like, shit, I ain't no doctor.
Yeah.
fuck do I know, you know? Dude,
well, that
like,
comes in like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
There's like a meditation that I've done where I work a lot with substance abuse and emotionally, just individuals with emotional troubles, right? So I do that too. So I teach teach meditation and yoga one-on-one. So I've had to kind of like dig real deep on like how I can help this population without my needles, you know? And so one of the ways that I've come up with it's known, there's like, you know, in the Eastern world, this is like a thing you do, but you do like body scans where you're checking in, like you start at like the top of your head and then you just literally are working your way down, and you can start to feel like just moving really slowly, like where imbalances are. Like you move really slow with intention, and you can feel where, oh shoot, my shoulder, why is my shoulder rounded up like this? And you start to pay attention. So it's a practice. You know, it's like you just have to stay on it, and then next thing you know, you're picking up on these things without even having to lie there and be still.
I think people just don't know either. You know, with food, and I always bring it back to my own experience, because I know I'm not special, dude. Like if I'm experiencing it, other people are experiencing it as well. Don't do it.
I'm gonna do it, dude. You're special as fuck, dude.
Thanks, man. Anyway, but if I'm experiencing something, I know other people are experiencing it as well. And for me, I had to look outside of medical options. I wasn't going to put more pills in my body, even though like I can go to a doctor at any point in the day if I hurt my back or if I'm feeling depressed and get a ton of pills without any effort. But I don't want to, I've played the medication game over my entire life and it only got me so far. So for me, when I start feeling down, and she's helped me with this as well, what am I putting in my body? I was doing ketogenic. I was eating a high-fat diet. She suggested, she's like, in Chinese medicine, you need more fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet. So I take her suggestions, but I had to learn over experience and inquire through my own education and having other practitioners teach me there's other ways to heal yourself. And so like people have a headache. They're like, I'm going to take ibuprofen. Did you drink enough water that day? What else did you eat that day? Did you eat a ton of sugar? Did you have a sweet-ass Starbucks drink? Like, what did you put in your body? And there's a direct correlation. The inflammation you have in your body, there's a direct correlation, dude. So if you're, people just don't know, though. They don't know. And I used to get super resentful. Like, why the fuck am I begging you to take care of yourself? But simply people don't know. And it's very convenient. It's very convenient to go to McDonald's and you have a headache and then go to Walgreens and get ibuprofen for that headache. It's a very convenient life, as opposed to saying, I'm going to look up anti-inflammatory foods and I'm going to cook my food at home. That's work. And again, going back to culture, we're go, pick up the kids, go to work till 7, get back home, get the kids to bed. We're going back. I don't have time to fucking cook. I don't have time to when in the day do I read about that? But that's why people like her and I and the people I work with, that's where where it's important to be working with someone professionally, myself included. I work with her and other different practitioners, and I have a trainer as well, because there's a perspective that I need as opposed to just trying the traditional medical route. It's, it works, but does it really work? It gives you short-term relief, but are you actually solving the problem?
No.
You know what I'm saying? No,
man. And I mean, I share in that frustration, right? I'm a chef. I cook organically. I've shared a lot of stuff with Eric about some of that bone. I've shared a lot of that stuff that we do. I'm not an ancestral chef cuisine, but I have a lot of influence in it because of the chef that I work under. But that's a big part of it, right? Is healing through food. How essential nutrition is, how, just a base of something to start with and then build from there, we have the loss of ferments or fermenting food, making sure you have good bacteria in your gut, making sure, all these things that are super essential that we used to do that were so common, making your own yogurt, something, like talking to my grandparents and even my parents, like those practices were so common, and little by little we're falling off into quicker solutions, and now we're finding ourselves in worse health ever, right? And but something so simple that we could have done, like make yogurt. It doesn't take long. It takes overnight.
So even the yogurt that they sell is cured. So it doesn't even have live cultures. No. So you're eating yogurt for the flavor as opposed to I'm gonna get this healthy bacteria. I can talk forever about how important the gut biome is. People don't put emphasis on it, and the sugars and the sweet things we put in our body are so negatively affect our gut biome, and a large portion of the serotonin in our body is produced in our gut. So there's a direct correlation between eating and being happy. Yeah, and people just don't know that shit though. I want to move that forward. Everybody should know that. We should all be going that direction first.
Yeah, and the other thing that kind of trips me, I had to get used to this stuff, right? It's not like I grew up this way. It was more like I fell into it. The way I fell into all that was just crazy. It seems like it should have been an accident, but it was obviously it was something larger at play in all this. I had to get used to eating ferments. That shit was gross as fuck.
It's gross.
It was fucking gross, right? And so, if things make us uncomfortable, or if we don't like it right away, we're not gonna fucking eat those things.
And that goes into another thing. Not everything's supposed to fucking taste good, dude. This world where everything's got to be melty and juicy. Dude, that's so new. That's in the past 70 years. I know. That's super recent. But everybody's like, it does. I have people who follow meal plans and it doesn't taste good. I'm like, not everything's supposed to be in and out, dude. No. It's for your health. That doesn't mean you never eat like that. It's life. Live your life. Yeah. I eat like dog shit when I'm with my kids, but for the vast majority of the week, I am eating healthy. And then there's a time and a place. Me and my son have donut Sundays. I get a donut for him, a little mini donut. I eat a donut or 3, and that's my Sunday. And then Monday gets here, and I'm back on the grind. So it's not black and white, one or the other.
Yeah.
But what happens is there's an emotional response when you start pulling certain foods away.
Foods are
And
tricky.
it's real, and that's, I'm dealing with a client like
tricky.
that right now. It's super, you know, people are like, oh, just write me a meal plan. I want to change my diet. Okay. Well, I'm going to ride this wave with you because this is not linear. You know, any recovery, no recovery is linear. It's a fucking up and down kind of, you know, battle.
Yeah, dude. I try. All right, I'm gonna admit something embarrassing. I tried to quit sugar like 6 months ago. I felt like I was withdrawing from opiates again, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that extreme. Didn't have the shakes and the like fevers and shit.
Yeah.
But dude, I was in such a fucking terrible mood. Like it has this crazy grasp, and I'd take like one bite of bread, and it was like, you know, like I was like, oh, take it. You know, like I could feel it instantly. Like I didn't even swallow it, but I took that like that neurological response that shit has on you is fucking.
It's crazy.
It's wild, man. And you know, people, it's a journey with the food part. It's really a journey. I always tell people it's 20 miles into that forest, 20 miles out of that forest. Yeah. So it didn't take you 6 months or 6 weeks to get this addiction to sugar and to get this, you know, this lack of health that you've, you know, developed over 5 years, 10 years. I've had people who've been unhealthy for decades. So yes, we can get the initial weight off. We can get a pattern started, but there, again, it's not linear, and there's relapse in that as well. And so it's a tough one. The food part is a tough one, but once you get it, for me, I was 165 pounds when I got sober, and I gained 60 pounds when I got sober. And then when my son's mom was pregnant, I gained 35 pounds. I've had an experience with it over the past 5 years. But then you get to this space after you've been practicing a discipline where it's intuitive. I don't weigh or measure food. I simply buy healthy foods and keep healthy foods in my house.
Change that habit.
It took me 5 years of doing that. And you know, there's a culture of like, hey, get fit in 6 weeks. It's like, nah, bro. Like I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does, but it's really changing that behavior where it becomes intuitive. I don't want anybody weighing their food and measuring their food for the rest of their life. But I will damn sure have you weigh it for 6 weeks so you even know what 5 ounces of chicken looks like. Well, people don't even know what portions look like, dude. Like, it's wild, man. It's wild.
I think this whole food topic that we're on also touches a little bit on our culture and like having like people having low self-worth and also giving away their responsibility. You know, it's like for whatever reason we give away our responsibility to these people who, the food stores and the people who, you know, create, you know, whatever for us to eat, and it's like we forget that we are solely responsible for ourselves.
That's true.
You know, and also like having low self-worth, like the whole culture behind like, oh, you know, you're not good unless you look like this or you have this, and it's like, if you have no self-worth, then what's the point in like really tackling some of those things? Like, oh, I gotta wake up 30 minutes early to eat right. You know, I gotta like pack my own lunch. Like, who does that unless they truly love themselves? You know?
True.
That's been I've been racking my brain on that. Like, how do I? Because for me as a sober dude and someone who struggled with that and even dealing with depression, I'm lucky. I get desperate, and when I'm desperate, I will beg you to help me change. I will come to her. I will pay whatever amount of money. Help me feel better. But, you know, people who don't have like if the consequences aren't as dire to them, at least perceptively, they can maintain a discomfort. And like, I remember looking in the mirror and being like, I don't like this. You know, I don't like it. And people, you know, that incomprehensible demoralization that we all know about. Yeah. People feel that, but they don't get the desperation where they want to change it. Or when they do, you see it at 50, you know, but that's not only their fault. It's also that the common denominator is people who are unhealthy. I think we've gone from 1 in 7 people being clinically obese about 50, 60 years ago to now 1 in 3. Only almost half the population is clinically obese.
And it's 1 in 4 in this room right now.
But you're good, dude. But you know what I mean? So it's so people already, you know, they may not like it, but they see it around them. They're like, oh, if this person's doing it, it's okay for me to do it too. Yeah. Which that's not a problem with the individual. That's a problem with the culture and the system. Yeah. That's no human's fault. It's like, you know, you see someone you know, we govern ourselves essentially. If you see other people doing the same thing, that becomes a cultural norm, right?
Yeah. I think like something I struggled with for a long time was like, man, I'm fucking fat, dude. Of course I'm gonna get McDonald's. And then you fall and you convince yourself of that, right? It's almost like when I was active in my addiction, I was like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit. Of course I'm gonna fucking eat this pill.
Yeah.
Like that's just what pieces of shit do. And so like I had to really be careful of like now being in recovery, being sober, of like continuing that cycle, that same like mental cycle of like, whatever, dude, like I'm fucking fat now, dude. Yeah, I'm just gonna smash this burrito, you know. So it's hard. It just affects stuff like that. It transfers from one thing to another.
Well, that's why I use the term honor your body, because fuck the way you look. Like the aesthetic is, if you eat right and take care of yourself, you'll look just fine. It doesn't have to be bodybuilder shredded or yogi like lengthening long muscle. It doesn't have to be that, but you know, it's honoring yourself. It's saying like, I do deserve this. I do deserve to take care of my body. And that is with the low self-esteem. For me initially when I got sober, that wasn't a priority for me either. But as at my stages of development, it became more and more important to me. It started out with the ego-driven thing, but then at some point that ends, and it's like, I just really want to take care of myself. And initially, when anybody's first getting sober, it's or you know, going through a transition. I won't even use recovery. When my son's mom was pregnant, I was going through this transition, and I ate for comfort. So in any transition, I feel like it's a crutch that people lean on, you know. And it's difficult not to, especially, you know, doing drugs every day is not acceptable socially, you know. So food is easy. Food's an easy go-to, you know.
Well, I have a question for you. So we're talking about self-worth and stuff like that, and I'm going through transformation myself and trying to break through some limiting beliefs and stuff. And one of the process that I did was having this meditation or whatever, and I dealt with a lot of like things from my past. And I actually cried for the first time in forever, like to the point where like my body was tense. And I always knew like that we store a lot of like emotional energy in our bodies. And I had a question for you. Is acupuncture, like, is there certain practices in acupuncture that can help us either get in touch with that stored energy or to help release that stored energy in a certain way?
Yeah, for both. Yeah, there's a whole different system in Chinese medicine. There's, you know, the more logical, which is, you know, this point does this point does that, you know, kind of thing. And then there's an element of each point, which is called the spirit of the points. So each point actually has a spirit aspect to it. So you can tap into that energy in a treatment, which would help really move emotions and stuck energy, old traumas. Like, you'll start to pull out those things in the body when you address the treatment from a place of using the spirit of the points. It's in like what's called the 5-element tradition, which we learn about. There's like all different types of acupuncture, Chinese medicine. It's a big pool. It's not just one thing, right? So there's like Korean, there's Japanese, there's Thai, there's Chinese, you know, so that there's a bunch. And then there's 5-element, which deals a lot with the emotions. So it would be a particular type of treatment, you know, depending on what you wanted to do. Like, say that, you know, you had a lot of anxiety, right? And so there's a point that's like on the chest, and it's like called out on the veranda. So you would be doing that point, you know, and then you would be doing some more grounding points, like, you know, Kunlun Mountains is supposed to be a grounding, like big, heavy grounding earth energy down on your ankles. So you would use that point to kind of pull that energy down. So you can do a lot with acupuncture for those things. And there's like also like ear acupuncture, which Eric sometimes likes, sometimes doesn't.
Should hurt.
But you could do ears are sensitive, very, very.
So, you know, yeah,
we're doing good.
Yeah. So, all right. So now let's bring this back to the acupuncture stuff. So someone like me, I've never done it before. I fucking hate needles. Like, I hate getting blood drawn. Don't look at my tattoos. That's a whole different thing. What do you expect? All right. What does it do? sorry for like the just blurting it out, but like
Yeah.
what is to someone like me sitting on it from the outside,
Yeah.
right? Like never done it.
Yeah.
Not looking at, because I imagine like you get stuck with hella needles and then you walk around like that dude from the scary movies.
No.
So what so what is it?
What is it?
Yeah. What does it do? What
Simply.
are you sticking?
Yeah. There's
what are we
nothing
doing?
on the needles.
Okay.
You're not putting anything into the body, and you're not pulling anything out of the body. Like you're not putting in a substance or pulling out a substance, right? So they're not really needles. Like we say that they're needles, but they're like pins. They're like smaller than the circumference of an acupuncture, smaller than a thumbtack, way smaller than a thumbtack. It's more like a cat's whisker.
Oh, dang, that's
Just with a little teeny weeny point on the end. And when you find the right point and you put the needle in, a lot of times you don't even really feel much.
Yeah.
You just feel like a little tap and that's it. Because it's not like we're going into the veins and pulling. No, none of that. Yeah, it's a totally different thing than what most people think.
Can you break down meridians to him?
Yeah,
Like-
so this is my go-to that I always tell people, like, when you think about the body, we're in the state of California, right? Big state, right? Lots of roads, highways, exits, on-ramps, off-ramps, right? Lots of cars, lots of people traveling. So imagine that's you. That's your body, right? You are the state of California. And there's all of these roads. Those are your channels, right? And so they intersect with muscles. They go around bones. They come around. Those are your roads, right? Snaking their way through the mountains. And when there's an accident, like the cars, everyone stops. So there's congestion. And we know when you're in traffic and you don't know why, especially like if it's like an odd hour and you're like, what the hell? I was just on my way there and I got stuck, and you're like, what the hell's going on? And the frustration, that buildup that happens, that is equated to like what we call stagnation. And stagnation in Chinese medicine creates pain and it brings disharmony to the body. So what we do with our needles is literally going in, finding where there's obstruction and opening that up so that the traffic can flow freely again. And an overall sense of what the medicine, like what we do.
Yeah.
Can you give him a little perspective? So the liver, if someone's having an organ issue, or for me, there's a point you do on my forehead. Explain the correlation between, because so for me, what I thought was if I have a pain right here, you poke me right here, and that's not necessarily the case.
No.
So can you talk me through that a
so
little
like
bit?
you can, like say that you're having a headache, there's a point on your toe. I could press with my thumb and you'd be like, oh my God, my headache's gone, right? Because everything's connected. Yeah. Everything is connected. So there's like the channels, they run from the hands to the chest, down the front of the body, up, like back up the backside of the leg, all the way around. They're intersecting all over. So there's this connection, right? And then the way that, the whole theory in Chinese medicine is, it's like that, there's seasons, right? There's like we're in fall, and then soon we'll be into winter, and then we'll emerge back out in spring, and then summer, and then late summer. And there's like this flow, right? And each season leads into the next. Each organ system in Chinese medicine fits into that system. So right now in the fall is the lung and large intestine. Those are the two organs that are in this time of year. And then when we go into the winter, it's going to be the urinary bladder and the kidney energy. So they all are interflowing. There's this natural flow that happens. So you don't need to, you have an ache here on your arm, put a needle right there. That's like more Western approach to it.
That was how
it's
I
a more
approached-
Western approach to
Yeah.
it. It's been like, put pain there, needle there. Like, no, let's see where is the imbalance? Where is it? So the diagnostic tools are the tongue and the pulse. And so the pulse gives you a read on each of the organ systems in the body. So between those two and asking a bunch of questions, as an acupuncturist, you're able to nail down exactly what organ systems are out of balance. And then you know what organ system to go to, and then what points would do what you need to do in order for to bring them back into balance. So everyone's different. So like if Eric comes in and he's having like a more like a high day, crazy high day, I'm on those feet.
Yeah.
I'm on the feet. I'm pulling down that energy.
And there's
pulling it down.
There's a direct physiological change. My resting heart rate is 105, which is terribly unhealthy. And I'll go in there and she'll be like, holy shit, we got to get to work. she'll do that. I'll go into that weird in-between state, whatever you want to call it, and it's drastically different at the end of it. So there's a physiological effect. And I've had people say, oh, I got acupuncture for pain management. It didn't work. No, it doesn't work the way Vicodin does. but it works. But it works. It works. It's proven to work. It's just what kind of relief are you looking for? You know. But I've felt not only I've had a spiritual experience, like I talk about feeling compassion or in that meditative state, but there is a direct physiological experience where I'm like, oh shit, I'm in my parasympathetic nervous system. This affected me physiologically, as opposed to just like, I feel better in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's a holistic feeling to it. Like,
but we say holistic, but this shit has been proven. It's been around longer than by far longer than Western medicine.
Yeah, about over 4,000 years.
Damn, that's a long time. That's a long.
You should have saw the first acupuncture needles. You wouldn't have liked those.
No, hell no. I can't even imagine. So, all right. So you're sticking this needle in, so you're hitting like nerves. You're hitting blood.
No, you try not to hit nerves. Nerves suck. They give you like an electric feeling in the body, which you don't want. It's not really like the nerves that you're hitting at all. There's like we call them like the spaces. So like an acupuncturist's fingers are like super sensitive. So like if you gave me your arm, I could find all the points just with my finger. Call them like your sniffer fingers, you know, because you can feel the divots. You can feel where the energy goes down. And so that's where you know where there's a point. So like in school, just for, you know, shits and giggles, not really. Like we need to learn where the points are in the body, right? Yeah. So we have a very systematic way of finding the points. They're called SUN measurements, like proportional body measurements. So we have to learn the system on how to find the points according to this book, right? But then out of school, it's your sniffer fingers, they take you there. It's because it's an energetic medicine, but it does have a lot of scientific like overlay. But you literally like you can just, you know, any acupuncturist that's been doing it for a while will be able to just say, oh yeah, or even look at you and say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you got a little yang rising up there, and you got a little this and a little that. Dope, you know, you can see it. You can just look at a person and you can tell. Yeah. You know, it's really wild. It's wild to be able to do that.
So, another question, maybe silly, but do you get like annoyed if people say yang?
No, because a lot of people do. My mother says yang. Oh, the yang. Oh, no.
Low key?
Yeah, the East Coast, that A, you know, that long A. No.
Low key?
No.
I'm going to start saying yang after today.
Yang. Yeah, yang is more appropriate. And if you ever call say you have a friend that's Asian or Chinese or something, and their last name is like Chang, you would not say, can I please speak to Mr. Chang? They're like,
that's racist.
Mr. Chong, like long A. Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Yeah.
I've learned so much today.
Damn, that went by quick.
Yang and Chong, dude.
Thank you for coming in, dude. Thank you for coming in. That flowed very nicely.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Really appreciate it. It was a great time.
So plug yourself, dude. Where we find you?
Yeah. So you can find me with my newest project on nourishingcompassion.org. There's my webpage is coming together there, and then I also have my personal acupuncture practice at multi-dimensional-healing.com.
You have an Instagram?
Yeah, it's a little at what's called ampersand. No, what is that thing
at?
called? The at symbol. Nourishing Compassion, and then my other one that I also post stuff for acupuncture is on Najah 81, Najah 81.
Dope.
Awesome.
Fuck out of here, guys. That was dope.
Let's do this, dude. It was a great one. Thank you, Jesse, for being here too. Thank you, Najah. That was a great time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh man.
Cool, guys.
And empower you to extent I can to think for yourself and question authority.
Family, the only people I got love for, but half my fam seeing trouble from the drug war. Pain, that's what the drug's for. Hood politic and president is what I run for. Cold roads, ice picks at the front door. You think you run these streets, brother, we run more. Track stars, trap stars. Third eye open, abusing drugs, bumping Black Star. We all characters, but never actors. I'm seeing multiples and you don't know your factors. Deadbolt the front, see me creeping through the back door. Atlas on kitty, can't tell if my back's sore. The globe's heavy, my flow steady. Spit shine, the crown is going down, get my robes ready. The pot clear my head, no netty. Kissing Lucy turns my legs to spaghetti, still I walk it off. Yeah, so keep your eyes on the ones that's been talking soft.
To think for yourself and question authority.
I'm sick of Times Square, 5% is calling me cracker. I'm like, brother, listen, your whole thinking is backwards. This world's got G's, but there's plenty actors. So think before you judge, cause there's many factors. We in a city where the slugs don't care what color your flesh is. Rappers get smart, masses miss the message. Brothers carry on, stacking bricks like it's Tetris. Fuck it, gotta do what you gotta to get breakfast. Nah, I mean, my people on the same scheme. So you see, my brother, we on the same team. North Beast, Queens, Marines, we got the same dream. Talk about them killer bees, in it for the cream, and that's how it is, wouldn't believe it, this is how we live. We trick D's, stack peas, steam trees, blocks hotter than a few 100 degrees, but that's how it is. Still, somehow we thrive. Immortal warrior, never greeting my demise. And the young ones are hungry, we see it in their eyes. When them hands get bitten in Britain, don't be surprised.
To think for yourself and question authority.
Ever since my papa passed on, I've been feeling blue. But slowing down ain't something that I'm finna do. I could sit around sulking my misery, or stand tall till we're all really living free. Could it be? Should it be? Would it be? You're asking things that you shouldn't be. There's no time to waste. I'ma be honest, there's no time for hate. But fuck, I got a lot of it. I try to love, try to rise above it. They say that love heals all, I'm thinking really does it. Feeling like really fuck it, no point. Trying to get high but got no joint, no joint, no joint. People are tired but got no bed. Hungry, got no bread. Kids too, dying in the street, bullets through head. Get what you deserve, shit, who said, who said, who said? Because who deserves that? Who deserves nice things? Who deserves crack? Who deserves shooting dope? Who deserves crack? It's real every day, everywhere in the map. But I'ma be here, cause this is where my family's at. Yeah, I'ma be here, cause this is where my family's at.